Y'all act like you heard of us or something.
Because they have.
The death of Joel in The Last of Us 2 made no sense when the game came out 5 years ago and still doesn't make sense today. But with the game being adapted as a TV series and the audience being able to spend more time with Joel as a character, this time around, I think it makes a lot more sense now. Like most fans of the game, I wasn't really looking forward to Season 2 because I know I'd have to rewatch a live-action version of the worst moment in all of gaming. Thinking about the logistics of having the best actor in the entire show die in the first few episodes and be stuck with Bella Ramsey and the supporting cast didn't sit well with me. And since most of the first season was a one-to-one recreation of scenes from the game, I didn't necessarily have high hopes for Season 2. But to my surprise, they actually delivered. The first episode picks up right where Season 1 ended. The pacing of the episodes takes its time to show us what Ellie and Joel have been up to living in Jackson since we last saw them. Without them being in the same room and sharing a scene together, you can see the tension that the two characters have between each other. Although they aren't on the best of terms, Joel would still do anything for her. When I try to assess the quality of T-Lao, yes, I said T-Lao, I approach it from the perspective of someone who isn't familiar with the games and doesn't know what's going to happen. Now, with a slow burn start to the season like that, I can imagine how jarring it was to see Joel die in the gruesome way that he did in episode 2. But it makes so much more sense here because of the sequence of events that led up to it. In the game, Abby tracks Joel and runs into him and Tommy, and they follow directions to her hideout to avoid a group of infected. In the show, the group of infected is putting everyone within a few mile radius at jeopardy. A horde of them puts all of Jackson in danger. Throughout the entire episode, the shots cut to see how the infected are affecting everyone from different locations simultaneously. As Tommy tries to lock down the entire town, Joel, Abby, and Dina run for their lives through the snowstorm, and Ellie tries to find Joel in the midst of it all. Everything is dialed to 10 for nearly the entire episode, so people don't have time to sit down and rationally think out a plan. The biggest critique that everyone gives towards Joel's death from the game is that it's undeserving and feels completely out of character for him to trust a group of strangers and give them his real name. This coming from the same guy who's ready to run over strangers in the street who were pretending they needed help, but him actually knowing that they had plans to rob him. They rectify that mistake in the show because they make the oncoming infected that much more lethal. On top of the mountain, you can see Joel go into fight or flight mode as he tries to figure out a way that he can make it back to Jackson, even though it's the most dangerous thing he could do in this situation. As an audience member who may be watching the show for the first time, you don't even have enough time to decide if it's a good idea or not to follow this stranger. You just know it's dangerous and don't care because you want to get back to home to save the people that you care about. The constant change of location as these characters' lives are being threatened throughout the episode keeps the tension high and was honestly raising my heart rate a little bit if I'm being honest. Even though I knew what was going to happen, I just couldn't fathom how they would actually save Jackson. This group of infected had me thinking,
it can't be stopped.
I liked the change of having Dina be with Joel instead of Tommy so he could hold the fort down in Jackson. It's more believable if only one of the smarter survivors in this show gets bamboozled, rather than two. They somehow found a way to make Joel's death even more graphic in the show than in the game by killing him with the sharp broken edge of the golf club jabbed into his neck, rather than the brute force of the club. Neil Druckmann just had to outdo himself, didn't he? Even finding a way to make the pain Ellie feels more emotionally heartbreaking by seeing her crawl to Joel's lifeless body. The game originally handled flashback Joel scenes terribly by simply not having enough of them. In the show, I don't feel the absence of Joel's presence as much as I did during the game. Joel gets an entire flashback episode all to himself and Ellie to see how their relationship has changed over time since they started living in Jackson. We see how they drift apart and Ellie's identity develops as she grows into a young woman with all of the teenage girl angst to go along with it. Outside of this episode, Joel's absence doesn't make the show feel empty. Bella Ramsey carries her own as Ellie and shines in her own right. By the time this video goes up, the season finale will have already come out, and I'm sure they're setting up for the switch from having the show be mainly from Ellie's perspective to Abby's. To be quite honest, I'm not looking forward to see Abby tell her side of the story in season 3. Frankly, I don't care, but my mind will remain open for the slight possibility that they surprise me with how they handle it. Maybe Druckmann listens to the feedback from the fans. It would be a miracle if they even get me to slightly empathize with Abby. But I guess I'll have to wait a few years to see what happens. If you stuck around to this part of the video, I really appreciate it. Subscribing to the channel shows your support for my videos and motivates me to make more just because I like big numbers. See y'all next time.